Hey, I'm Jasmine Estrada. I am an audio producer over at Marvel, and you're listening to Across the Bifrost.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Across the Bifrost, the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode, we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. My name is Ryan Doze. I am your host for this episode and pretty much every episode. Not pretty much. There is no pretty much about it. Host for every episode. And we are bringing you another new comics episode today because we'll explain why we're doing this one. It's really because there's two Loki books that came out on the same week, and they're both awesome, and I wanted to talk about them. That's really the main reason. And so figured we just bring back Alex from last week to talk more about Loki, because Loki is like kind of your thing, Alex. That's along with Loki's kind of your thing.
Yeah. I love my Asgardian big three: Thor, Loki, and Amora.
And we get very little Thor. No Amora, but lots of Loki this week.
Oh yeah.
So
two different kinds of Loki.
Very different kinds of Loki.
Yes.
these comics, yes, have the same guy in the title, but they are very, very different. So one of the other reasons why we're doing this new comics episode just like 2 weeks after we did our last one is because there's a long hiatus now from when we get, like, Immortal Thor doesn't really start until the end of August. So there's going to be kind of a big gap in our new comics coverage. And I didn't want these two books, especially the What If Dark issue, to get lost in the shuffle. So we're going to do these two comics today, probably for a little bit of a briefer episode for you all, for the listeners, to dig into these Loki stories. And we're going to actually start with Loki What If Dark, because when Walt Simonson writes a modern Marvel comic, you put him first.
It's just crazy.
When the goat wants to come back and tell a story, you let him tell that story. And so this issue is it's entitled What If Dark, Loki, #1, written by Walt Simonson, pencils by Scott Eaton, inkers Cam Smith, Scott Hanna, colorist Andrew Dahlhaus, and letterer Travis Lanham from the VC group. We do get a great main cover, a Walt Simonson cover. So Walt did not do the interior art for this, but fantastic cover featuring Loki with Mjolnir, Surtur's in the background, and the Midgard serpent is also on this cover. I remember before we get into the plot of this one, Alex, when this cover came out and all like the What If Dark stuff was making the rounds, this cover alone to me sold the book.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just
like, yeah.
So
when I heard Walt Simonson was coming back to write a Loki, even if it's just a one shot,
right,
just having Walt Simonson write Loki, I was like, I'm already on board. I don't know what the plot is going to be, but I'm already sold just off of that precedent.
Yeah. And speaking of the plot, this issue is set at a specific time in the Thor continuity. So I wanted to just give listeners the context. If you haven't read this book, by the way, spoilers for this one, I highly recommend you go read this yourself, because we are going to miss something here. This is a one shot, but it feels like a full fleshed out, like almost like a 4-issue, 5-issue kind of arc. It's very packed. So let me just give you the brief context that they give at the beginning of this issue. It says, in Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Thor 153, so this is happening decades ago, everybody, Loki, empowered by magic he stole from Karnilla the Norn Queen, is now able to lift Mjolnir, and he steals it from Thor. Although the loss of Mjolnir transforms the God of Thunder back into his mortal guise of Donald Blake, with Sif's help, Thor overpowers Loki and reclaims his hammer. But what if Thor hadn't gained control of Mjolnir in that battle? What if Loki had been able to pursue his plans hammer in hand? So we get kind of our premise here is Thor loses the hammer, Loki obtains it, and what happens now that Loki has the hammer? So I love that on the first page we see Ulik the troll, my favorite
I
villain.
knew that was going to be brought up. I was
My
like,
favorite Thor villain shows up in the first page. I'm like, okay, like book already great, already good. It's one of those proofs that Walt Simonson does listen to Across the Bifrost. And then we get a little bit of a funny little moment between Loki and a cop where he's explaining kind of like, oh hey, this hammer, you're going to a costume party, you could have just said so. And then of course the hammer's too heavy for the police officer to lift, so Loki kind of is having a little bit of fun with this police officer, and then it gets really murdery real fast.
Oh yeah, everything, it goes 0 to 100 so quick.
Right.
My jaw was on the floor. I was like, oh my God.
I did a page count. We were like 4 or 5 pages in, and so many characters that already died. So just here's what happens. Loki ambushes a recently transformed Donald Blake and stabs him through the chest with the staff, with the walking stick that, you know, traditionally a lame Dr. Blake would use to get around. And then Loki kills Sif as well, and we see Loki triumphant over their dead bodies, and he's like piecing out already because he realizes that if Karnilla finds out that he's got Mjolnir, she's going to try to maneuver her enchantments so that she isn't like helping Loki out anymore. So what does Loki do? He goes to Nornheim and blows up her fortress, and it like crushes her under the weight of her entire castle. And we're on page 5.
Insane. Yeah, this is page 5. Like, he's destroyed Nornkeep, he's killed Karnilla, he's killed Sif, and he's killed Thor and Don Blake. It's like
it's only going to get worse. Like,
there's still more. There's still more that has to be done.
In the little credits box, this story is listed as it's the Song of Mjolnir in minor, a tale of death and destruction brought to you by Walter Simonson. And yeah, that's a pretty accurate way of describing this comic. Anything that can go badly really does go badly. So Loki kind of assesses his plan here. He knows the 2 other people he needs to stop are Balder and Odin. So he goes off to get the mistletoe that is going to be used to kill Balder. Then he shows up in Asgard, cloaks himself with magic, and stabs Balder through the chest with a mistletoe spear. So that's like our death count continues to go up. Loki then goes a little power mad. He releases Fenris the wolf to go after Odin. They have some father-son. They have a father-son moment, and
my boy.
And while Fenris is released to go after Odin, Loki gathers his basically every Asgardian villain you can think of.
Except Amora.
Well, yeah, except Amora. Amora does not show up in this comic, which I found kind of funny.
Well, I was joking with a friend. I'm like, if she was there, she'd probably like knock some sense into him and humble him. Like,
stop him before he can be his worst enemy.
You should be like, you're an idiot. Like, you're an idiot. You know that, right?
This is gonna go so badly, man. Like, you gotta stop.
Oh yeah, it's like she would have warned him, so we can't have that. So that's why I've made my peace with her not being here.
But we see like the Frost Giants, Hela, the undead warriors of Hell, Surtur,
and Thor,
fire demons, and Thor. Thor is there, which is kind of nuts because they don't really call that out at any point.
No, it's just like, oh yeah, he's got to fight for Hela. Hela got what she wanted.
Right. And I love the depiction of the Midgard serpent is just his eye.
Oh yeah.
And that little panel, that Scott Eaton panel there, just, I mean, I could have a poster of that panel alone. That's another thing about this. We're not getting Walt Simonson art, but we are getting like Walt Simonson style art
Oh
from
yeah.
Scott Eaton. You can really see it in the way he does Surtur and the Midgard Serpent, because they're just done in that distinct Simonsonian way. I think we'll just make up a term for that.
Yeah.
Then we know all the villains have been assembled. We cut back to Heimdall on the Bifrost Bridge, and Heimdall gets taken out by Mjolnir before he can summon all of the ranks of Asgard. And then we get a great full page splash of some of our our favorite Thor villains riding in to enact Loki's final plan. There's Malekith and Surtur, Frost Giants, Fenris, Ulik, Frost Giants, and of course, Loki himself at the front wielding Mjolnir, which I'll be honest, at one point in this comic, it got really familiar. Like, it was weird when I saw it first. When those preview images came out, I was like, oh, that's weird. He's carrying the hammer. Halfway through this, I was like, oh yeah, well, Loki has Mjolnir. That's obvious. Walt made me feel like it was just normal halfway through this issue.
Yeah.
Very odd.
Yeah,
So,
you just forget that like he's just killed all of the like primary players, and it's just like, yeah, that's okay.
Speaking of his hit list, there's one major name left on it, and it's his dullard stepfather. So we see all the various villains wreaking havoc in Asgard. A little bit of a blink and you miss it cameo from the Odin sword in the back of one of these panels. And then Odin is sitting on his throne when Fenris busts into the throne room. Loki uses a little bit of magic to kind of like hold him back with the hammer, and Fenris just eats Odin.
Chomp.
Like, I mean, I believe that's part of the Poetic Edda, where
yes, yeah.
So it's it's Simonson doing what he knows best, using those moments from mythology to really enhance a story. But then, of course, when villains team up, usually villains stab each other in the back. And here is where the story takes a twist. Loki is almost done with his plan. He says, like, the reign of Loki will begin. And then we hear laughing from behind him that echoes his own laughing. So it's like maniacal laugh echoed with maniacal laugh. And of course, it's Surtur, the leader of the Muspelheim fire demons, who basically says, I'm not bending the knee to you. That's not going to happen. And he unsheathes the sword and is taking it towards the eternal flame. Obviously something that we've seen in the Simonson era of Thor. So again, Walt using what he knows best. He knows his own stuff, and he's kind of doing a callback to his own run there. And then Loki just melts into ash.
Oh, yeah, that was something I didn't expect to happen. I thought Surtur was going to do him in. No, it's like Loki's own hubris with Mjolnir.
Yes,
does him in.
Because he's going to use Mjolnir to extinguish Surtur in some way. The lightning binds him to the hammer, and then he is turned into ash. The narration box says, and a moment later there is only ash in the form of a godling. I mean, what Loki's not even safe from himself at this point in the issue. I would be remiss to not mention, because Faz would just he would ridicule me if I didn't say this. Surtur is full flaming diaper Surtur in this depiction. He's got his like fiery thong on, and he's like ready. He's ready to fight. I
gotta love it.
I love this version of Surtur. The next page is my favorite page in the issue, because it features he's like a top 5 Thor antagonist for me. Surtur lifts up the sword and says, "'Tis done. Now shall I fulfill my destiny." But not too soon, because the Midgard serpent comes in and says, "Not so, Surtur. I will kill you rather than be consumed by your flames." Then Surtur comes back with, "Alas, Jormungand, you forget that a sword has multiple uses, beheading among them. And he cuts
No.
off the Midgard serpent's head. And it's like, I'm sitting there reading, I'm like, what in the world is happening? Like, everyone is dying.
Oh yeah, it just went crazy. Like if you already thought it was crazy before, it just keeps going. It's just nonstop.
This was kind of the comic book version of Game of Thrones' Red Wedding, where no one is safe.
Yes.
No one's safe
Yes.
from, and it's like the guy that killed the guy actually dies, and the person that you
Yeah.
thought was safe is not safe. I mean, heck,
Oh.
everybody, Thor died on page 2.
Yeah.
Like, okay, when they said what if dark, yeah, it's like Darkest Timeline. If you're a fan of Community, which I know a few of our listeners are, like, this is Darkest Timeline Asgard. And we see the destruction of the 9 realms in these beautiful big panels where each different realm gets kind of their like their final destructive moment recorded. And then there is a void that opens up because, well, actually in the Muspelheim Surtur panel on one of our last pages, Surtur says about himself, even Surtur himself shall perish in his own flames as the sun, the moon, and even the stars are destroyed, leaving naught behind. So Surtur, he's destroying himself as well as the 9 realms. And then there's some narration boxes as Loki's body is floating into the void, but something there is left drifting in the growing void. The immemorial passes until somewhere deep in the midst of the emptiness there is a flash of lightning, and there are words unspoken. Let there be light. So we get Ragnarok, and then everything is reborn. So
yep, that's how it goes.
Darkest Timeline, but also like we end with a little bit of, dare I say, hope. So that's what happens in What If Dark Loki #1. Alex, we kind of shared a few of our thoughts throughout there. Like, this comic was a buckle your seatbelt and hang on kind of, like, it almost felt like a car chase. It was so crazy. What were some of your favorite moments from this issue that we've been waiting quite a few months for?
Well, first of all, I always love when Walt Simonson is writing anything to do with like Thor characters in general, because I refer to him as like the king of Thor comics, because so much of what we know and love he's created.
Right.
Like in the MCU movies, you get like most of that is his creations. Like Ragnarok storyline, Surtur,
Malekith.
we got Malekith is his creation. Like we also have him sitting next to Lady Sif in the first Thor movie, which I always love.
One of my favorite cameos. So good.
Yeah, there's 3 Thor writers in the first Thor movie, if you can find them.
Ooh, it's a fun Where's Waldo.
Yeah, I mean, you can find Stanley. I'll give you that one.
Right,
But
yeah,
the other two
that's the one we expect. But like, if you didn't know what Walt Simonson looked like, you'd be like, who's the old guy next to Jamie Alexander? Like, no, that's the goat right there.
Yeah, that's show some respect. Yeah, but this issue was just like nonstop. I had no idea what to expect upon going into it, but it was nonstop from the beginning. Because like, even if you haven't read 153, you don't really have to, but you have that added knowledge of it. If you can read this on its own and it's still fun from start to finish, because it's just a one-off thrill ride with twists that you really didn't see coming. I know I didn't see coming that like Surtur was going to be like betraying Loki, and then Loki doesn't die from Surtur but instead dies from himself, and then Jormungandr tries to fight Surtur and then dies. So it's just a lot of twists and turns and excitement.
I think, I at the risk of sounding like I have a massive amount of recency bias, I think this is maybe if not my favorite single issue of a Thor related comic this year. Like, And there's been a lot of good ones. Like,
Yeah.
but this had the benefit of like it's Walt Simonson writing. That's already like,
Yeah.
3
Yeah, that's
stars out of 5. And fantastic Simonson inspired art, but also like I did not know how the story was going to end.
yeah.
Like, and it was wrapped up in one epic issue. This felt like a truly an epic comic book arc in one issue. This definitely, like, as far as one shots, this maybe has been the best Thor one shot in a long time. And I realize I'm saying that a few weeks after the Thor annual came out, which is essentially a one shot. But man, I mean, if you can go pick up What If Dark Loki #1, please go pick it up. It is a comic book you will greatly enjoy. And I mean, even though we just spoiled the twist for you, come on. I mean, it's just so good.
You got to experience it. It's like you
Right.
have to experience it. Us just telling you really doesn't do it justice, because
Yeah.
you gotta see it and you gotta read it to really get that impact of everything.
Yeah. And it made me think. I know though the What If Disney Plus show is still a thing, and we're gonna get more of that. I would have loved for this to have been a What If episode of that show. I think that would have been insane. Like Tom Hiddleston voicing Loki, get
Oh,
like Clancy Brown to come back as Surtur. Just so much kind of cool stuff they could have done.
yeah.
But
I know
that's
that
just,
we're gonna get some type of Thor what if. I believe it's what if Odin fought the Mandarin, which I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that.
do,
It's a weird
do
mashup.
I need that story?
Yeah, it's really like, do I need that? But then again, like my favorite episodes from the first season of What If were, of course, the murder mystery episode with Loki.
Fantastic.
Then there was another Loki one, right?
Loki was in a few of them. Yeah. He was
He
in
was
the
in
Party
like
Thor one as the
the
Frost
Party
Giant.
Thor one. I love Party Thor. A lot of people don't, but I gotta stand by my boy.
Yeah,
Party Thor is amazing because Frigga put the fear of God in him.
I love that. I love that Frigga is the one that like stops him. And it's
Yeah,
just like a your mom tells you to clean your room kind of thing. It's
yeah.
fantastic.
On top of that, like Frost Giant Loki, which a bunch of Loki fans were like, we waited a decade and we
Yeah,
finally
yeah,
got
yeah.
Frost Giant Loki.
Oh my gosh. But hey, all that being said, What If Dark Loki #1, fantastic read and something you should definitely check out. Hey friends, I hope you're enjoying this very mischievous new comics episode here on Across the Bifrost. I wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up what we have going on our Patreon right now. We are going to be doing our last instant reaction bonus episode for the finale of Secret Invasion this Wednesday. It'll be in your Patreon inbox Thursday morning if you are a Patreon member. We're going to be doing that. We're also going to be doing the second installment in our Hercules exclusive podcast, where we're going to talk about what was Hercules, the Prince of Power, doing during Secret Invasion, and we're going to talk about the assembly of his little super team, the God Squad. So if you want to join the Thor Corps today, click the link in the episode description. For a few bucks a month, you'll get early episodes, bonus episodes, and you'll learn what we're doing on the podcast way before anybody else. So give it a look. Either way, we hope you enjoy the rest of this new comics episode with Alex, all about Loki, the God of Mischief. Another thing you should definitely check out is the second issue of the current Loki limited series, which Alex is going to give us a synopsis of, and there's a lot that happened in this one too. A different tone, a different vibe, but I mean, Loki's still being Loki. So Alex, hit us with the synopsis for Loki #2.
So Loki issue 2, written by Dan Waters, titled Chapter 2, The Liar. So last we left off with Loki, he was right about to get beheaded by the dwarves in his pursuit of going to find Naglfar, the pieces of Naglfar, since they were destroyed by frost giants when he taught them how to read, which, okay.
I love
Uh,
that teaching someone to read backfired on him.
he's like, I wanted to teach them to read, and it's like, we can destroy things? No.
Oh crap.
Yeah. But we pick up right as they swing the axe, and they don't behead Loki because he uses a sort of defense spell, and it just like creates a gash down his face and knocks his horns off. He tries to get away by turning into a snake, but they do catch him, and they end up imprisoning him. And what I find interesting is that we don't see a lot of Loki in this issue. We see a lot more about the dwarves. We learn more about the dwarf clans. There's this father-son kind of storyline that's going on because the pieces of Naglfar were forged into an axe by one of the dwarves, and it's slowly corrupting him. So all of the the dwarf clans are at war with each other. Let's see, the Iron Skin clan is coming to fight them with stuff made from ancient dragon spine, which is probably the coolest word I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Didn't
Dragon
expect that in my
spine.
Loki book.
Yeah. Like I said, we're still focusing on the dwarves. We focus on them for a good amount of pages, and they're talking about how the son of the guy that wields the axe is talking about how he's not really comfortable with, how his father is acting because of the axe slowly corrupting him. And then we finally get back to Loki, who is now in her female form.
Which was
And
kind of
I
a
loved
cool
this.
little like
Yeah.
thing I didn't expect. I thought we were going to stick
Yeah.
with kind of the male presenting Loki for a while. Nope, second issue
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, and can I just say the design for her in this comic is amazing. It's a slightly new design. It's the same, we got the same Agent of Asgard, armor and coat and everything, but it's a slightly different design that I absolutely love, and a bunch of Loki fans absolutely loved this look as well. I remember people going crazy for this preview because we finally get female Loki back and doing some stuff, but
The design
the
for this
dwarves, yeah.
the design for this female Loki kind of reminded me of Raven from the Teen Titans, where
Yeah.
like kind of paler skin, jet black hair, but like those piercing eyes. And I love the green in her eyes. It's so the colorist, often we don't talk about colorists in comics, but
Mhm.
Mike Spicer, the man who did the colors for this, is normally I most associate him with Daniel Warren Johnson. He does the colors for DWJ's stuff, but Mike Spicer really like the pops of color he gives Loki, and really his use of green in this issue is
Oh
so
yeah.
good. Whether it's trying to kind of cast something in like a dark magical light, or the little accents on our female version of Loki for this issue, or later on when something gets a little more, shall we say, explosive, he uses green in a very cool way. So just a quick plug for the colorist Mike Spicer.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal job, because it like looks like Loki's eyes, like her eyes are glowing almost. And there's even that panel where she holds up the bottle with the ship, and it's like you get those two kinds of green that just play off of each other really well in these panels. And you also get the scar across her face from being struck with the axe, which I think is a really nice touch, that it's not completely healed, but she is, you know, still cleaved down the face. And she's sitting in dwarvish prison while they're trying to basically talk about how his father, not Loki's, but the dwarf's father, is just not himself, and he's worried about him. And then the war with the clans is coming, and the dwarves eventually take Loki's horns and they melt them down, which I thought was really interesting. What's done with Loki's horns in this issue was really, really interesting, and I really like it, because they essentially melt down Loki's horns, and there's this really cool kind of personification of them where it talks about how gold is like a precious metal that conducts better than most, but all of Loki's like trickery has been like soaking into the metal for like years. It's so cool.
I agree, because it was like each of these clans has kind of their principal weapon, and the father dwarf of kind of the clan we're following most closely with Loki is like, you're not going to take my axe, you want it for yourself. It kind of felt like Gandalf and Bilbo at the beginning of Fellowship. It's like, you want it for
Yes.
yourself. He's like, I'm not trying to rob you, dude. So he goes and makes a bow out of the horns and is going to try and use it to stop these warring clans from destroying his father, because his father is slowly just going bat crap mental, and wielding this axe that's only making it worse.
Yeah, it's like we have Bilbo Baggins and then we have Gandalf archetypes playing here. It's very Lord of the Rings, very fantasy, leaning into that fantasy. That's something that I'm really liking about recent like Thor media in general, like Thor comics, Thor whatever, like Loki I lump in with Thor comics because I mean, come on. But
Right.
like it, all of the writers are really leaning back into this fantasy and Norse mythology aspect of Thor, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Absolutely. I honestly, I couldn't agree with you more, because it felt like, and I can't really pinpoint when and what issues made me feel this way, but for a little while I was like, I kind of felt like we were lost with
Yeah.
like defining Thor, like what makes Thor and his related titles, what makes them distinct amongst the sea, the veritable ocean of comics. What makes him different? And it truly is that fantasy, medieval, mythological take on comics. I really feel like we're dialed back into this, and definitely this issue going into all the dwarven lore made it so much like, oh my gosh, this is a fantasy comic that features a Marvel character. And Loki, like you said, Loki's really not even in this comic. The conflict of
Yeah,
the issue has
Loki,
nothing
yeah,
to do with
Loki,
them.
yeah. Yeah, Loki is not, Loki didn't orchestrate for the clans to start fighting each other so that he could escape, like she could escape prison. No, that's not what's going on at all. Loki is quite literally shackled in jail for this entire ordeal, when we see like the conversations between the father and the son, and then like talking about the clan war and everything. And eventually we hear the sound of the war horn go off, and I love this little panel of Loki that's just like, just
Right.
she's just sitting there, she's like, oh, okay. And then we jump right back into the clans are battling. It's full
Yeah.
scale war at this point.
Ooh.
And the dwarf that had crafted the bow out of Loki's horns tries to use it, and I still love this personification of the gold that Loki's horns are made out of,
Yes.
because in a text box it just says, all the evil, trickery, and mischief of Loki's past gathered into a single bolt of crackling potential. It was a fine idea of Etten Thatchbeard's, and then it backfires on him into, but perhaps he should have thought it through a little further, because as he tries to fire this bow, he explodes.
This panel, best panel in the book. Like, Yerman Peralta, like, kudos, here's your flowers, like, and I didn't expect it, Alex. I didn't expect it.
I really didn't. And the best part about it is the text box beside it just says, he might have realized evil, mischief, trickery would likely coagulate into an evil, mischievous trick on their wielder, meaning it's another trick.
Right. It's, yeah, the evil and the mischief and the trickery backfires on itself, and back on the wielder. Like, that's just, I mean, that's just like a really smart detail. Last week with Jasmine, we talked about like delicious little details, and that is one where I'm like, oh well, of course, if it's imbued with Loki's magic, of course it would backfire on the user, because it's just a joke. It's just a joke. And like you said, like, Loki's not actively doing this. It just is something that their magic is predisposed to.
Yeah, which is really, really interesting, because the horns, we never see the horns really have any magical property when dealing with Loki. The only time we've really seen the horns be something significant is in Loki, Agent of Asgard by Al Ewing. The horns in that comic book hold like a very significant piece of Loki's story, especially when they become like broken. It's not just like a broken horn, it's a significance to Loki's change over that story. But seeing as they're like crafted into this bow and then destroy the wielder, this actually gets the father's attention and stops the ensuing battle. But what I find even funnier is that Loki, she just breaks herself out of prison. She could have done it the entire time, but she was just waiting for something to happen.
What we kind of mentioned this a little bit, that Loki does not start the conflict, does not even really get involved in the conflict. What Loki does is uses the conflict that's already there to their own devices. I loved that the conflict has nothing to do with them, nothing, and just like, well, I can take this opportunity and I can use it to my benefit. And that's like the most Loki thing to do. It's to subvert the conflict.
Yeah, sit back and watch the chaos. And I should mention that on the prison door, they had put all of these magical like protection sigils across Loki's jail cell in order to keep Loki in there so she couldn't use her magic this entire time. But we find out that I guess the dwarves suck at magic, because she literally just unlocks the door. Like, she unlocks her shackles, she unlocks the door, and just walks out.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Yeah, but we go back to the battlefield, and, you know, there's flaming corpses everywhere. It's decimation, and Loki approaches the dwarf with the axe, and she actually takes the bow and recrafts them back into her horns. And we get this really like heartfelt moment between the father and Loki about how he just wanted an axe to get some firewood to keep his son warm. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to laugh, but Loki's reaction to this, like, this father who's grieving the loss of his son, he's like, I just wanted an axe so I could chop firewood to keep my son warm. And Loki, looking at the charred remains of the son's boots, goes, he certainly looks warm now.
Yikes. It's like, Loki didn't have to go that hard.
It's like, Loki, hun. Oh. And of course the father tells him to tells her to go to hell.
Take this axe, get the hell out of here. And
he's like, go to hell. Okay, it's like, Loki, come on, girl, time and place.
Yeah, just that was unnecessary. But
Loki gets the axe and reunites a piece of Naglfar with the tiny little ship, and then creates a portal. And then the ending of this actually jumps us to Midgard on New York, where we see Mr. Owl talking to this man named
Muck Mulligan.
Mick Mulligan. Oh, Muck, yeah.
They call him Mick because he doesn't like showers, Alex.
Yeah,
he's all disgusting. Oh, he's got like
he's got like cold
on
sores
his lips
and he's disgusting.
Yucky.
What I find interesting is that, like, on the board behind Mr. Owl, we see a picture of Daredevil with a bunch of bullet holes in it.
Yeah.
We see a couple heroes.
It's the wizard from the Frightful Four. I think it's the Hood. The Hood is one of them. I don't know what the fourth one is. But it's, you know, your standard, you know, Hell's Kitchen, New York, you know, cast of, you know, random characters.
Oh, and if you liked Florida Man from the first issue, we get a little cameo.
Yes.
We get a little cameo when we go back to Midgard, and in a trash can right at the foreground of the image, there is a newspaper that says Florida Man vanishes through green portal of light. So
keeping that theme alive.
Not only do they know what Florida Man looks like, but they know him enough to go, oh yeah, that's Florida Man. Like, that's wild to me, but okay. I mean, he did try and sell an alligator for beer last time, so.
Which, just fantastic. Like,
fantastic.
But
yeah.
The ending is kind of crazy because the owl is like they had this Muck character brings the case, presumably having the piece of Naglfar that's on Midgard within it, and it kind of
Yeah.
drives the owl mad.
Oh yeah,
And
his like eyes start bleeding. They go like just completely insane.
and
He's like bleeding from every orifice. It's crazy.
yeah, which fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how we end with like the to be continued, and we know we're probably not seeing the last of Muck because he says, there's no shortage of people that might want to buy this, because there's a lot of destruction in what that ship is capable of. I do love that the next issue, it's Wiccan and Hulkling are gonna be in the next issue with Loki. So kind of a little bit of a tease there. And who knows what that'll be. I'm assuming we're gonna go after the piece that's like off in uncharted space next, because that would make sense for Wiccan and Hulkling, because they're
Yeah,
out there.
that would make the most sense. It's just from what I've seen too, like there's a variant cover that kind of makes it look like there's going to be some sort of like, I don't know, jealousy or something. I don't want to say that because I know that like Wiccan and Hulkling fans might crucify me for it,
Yeah.
but it's just stuff that I've been seeing people theorize. They'll be like, "Oh, is there going to be a weird love triangle type thing," which then people play up with, well, if there's like a weird love triangle type thing with Loki, Wiccan, and Hulkling, then that Scarlet Witch cover is very strange.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful artwork. I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, I didn't know. It's there's a lot of I saw the Loki Scarlet Witch cover too, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. What are we
Yeah.
doing there?
That lit a fire on the internet that day. That was
Yeah. Like, luckily, I barricade myself away from those type of fires, so I'll take your word for it. But I'm looking forward to that as well, to see how that plays out, because I was definitely
Yep.
curious, but I didn't hear any of the like, I'm sure well-informed and sensible takes that people had. So everybody, that is the end of our brief little new comics episode featuring Loki and lots of Loki. Alex, do you have any final thoughts on these two issues and kind of the state of Loki right now with comics? I feel like we got a lot all of a sudden, and of course we're getting the Disney Plus show. Like, it's not a mystery as to like why we're getting Loki at this time. But Loki is kind of always, in the last 10-15 years, he's become a fan favorite character that people, a lot of people resonate with for a lot of different
Oh
reasons.
yeah.
Any
Loki is
thoughts
like
on
yeah.
where we're at?
Loki's like really just an incredibly complex character throughout like the 60 years of Thor, but like right now we're getting different like types of Loki. Like we're seeing Walt Simonson come back to bring us his take on the classic Kirby Loki. Even today I saw that JMS with his Captain America comic that's coming out, apparently he's going to talk about creating that Lady Sif Loki from his Thor run in along with
Fantastic
some
little
other
run,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. He's going to talk about that and then we have this 4-part miniseries which is absolutely phenomenal so far, and it's kind of sad that we're already halfway through it, meaning, but Al Ewing has told us that Loki is going to be a primary player in the Immortal Thor. So it's not the last time we're going to see him. We're going to see a lot more of Loki, and getting Al Ewing to write Loki again after Agent of Asgard is just going to be phenomenal to see. But Dan Watters right now, I cannot wait to see how this ends,
Yeah.
because I might know stuff, but I pretend I don't. Thank you,
Yeah, it's a
Amazon.
whole thing of like I'm trying to simultaneously figure out where we're headed, but I'm also trying to save the surprise and the enjoyment for myself. We're gonna get something that definitely will entertain us, and hopefully there's gonna be some of those twists like we had in both issues today, where we're not gonna see it coming, and the God of Stories is going to surprise us yet again. But Alex, why don't you go ahead and just remind people where they can find you on the internet if they want to check out your page, and maybe reach out to you for Loki, Amora takes, anything like that. Where can people find you?
I am available on TikTok and Instagram at the username Realm Trekker, and if you ever want to get in contact, I have the links to all of my stuff for, any media type stuff in my bio. So yeah.
Fantastic. Everybody, you can follow our show at Mighty Thor Podcast on Instagram. You can check out our Patreon at the link in the episode description. Join the Thor Corps for a few bucks a month. We've been doing bonus episodes through Secret Invasion, which I believe when this episode comes out will have just concluded, or it's just about to conclude. So we'll be getting ready for our Secret Invasion review, which will feature the Secret Invasion Thor tie-in comics that I believe, and Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, written by Matt Fraction. That
I think so.
I shouldn't have put anybody on the spot right there. That was my bad.
Fine.
That was podcast host foul play right there. But I believe written by Matt Fraction. So I mean, Matt Fraction is a legend, and his Thor run fantastic. And we're gonna see Thor and the Asgardians of Broxton, Oklahoma, fight the Skrulls. So that's gonna be a whole fun little adventure we're gonna do. And yeah, so we're gonna be having that coming up soon. Secret Invasion. And there's a lot coming up in the world of Thor. There's a lot coming up, especially in the world of comics, to get excited about. So we hope that you will tune in next time when we, again, traverse the 9 realms, the 10 realms, however many realms we feel like going to. And you check out all the Thor stuff that we love, we're passionate about, that we want you to know more about. But until then, whatever you're doing, no matter where you are, remember to stay worthy.